How's it going? My name's Nico, I go by Cointrick and Cointricktwitch online. If you want to see more videos like this one, please remember to like and subscribe. Hit that bell so you get notified every time I upload another one of these videos. We've been doing a series of videos all in 3 parts where basically, first we teach you how to make and master a simple classic cocktail. Then we show you what other classic cocktails are in that same kind of neighborhood that you could make with a couple of extra ingredients, repeating the steps from part 1. And then in the last part, which is what we're covering here, in part 3, I show you how to make your signature cocktail from scratch in that same style that we covered in part 1. And then I'll show you some advanced techniques that you can use to make sure that your cocktail really stands out from everyone else's. So the cocktail that we're focusing on this time is the Margarita. Quick note, tequila can only come out of Mexico, and in order to be considered tequila, it can only be made with blue Weber agave. But there are other species of the agave plant. However, if it's made with another species besides the blue Weber agave, it has to be labeled and sold as mezcal, which is also made very differently from the way that tequila is made. So how do you make a signature variation on an existing cocktail? Well, first, ignore all of the recipes that you already know, right? You should really only be focused on the empirical components that you've already learned in step 1 here. So the first easy thing to do is going to be to substitute your liquor. You can use flavored liquors. Jalapeno flavored tequila is pretty readily available. You can also use something like an elderberry flavored vodka. Or you can also do a split base where you mix different liquors. In this case, something like using mezcal and tequila instead of just one or the other. You can also add liqueurs. So this will add flavor, aroma, and body. So instead of using Cointreau, maybe you could use something like dry curacao, which is going to be just as sweet, and it's made the same way that Cointreau is made. You can also use Aperol, which is somewhat orange-based, but it's going to be bittersweet. Or you could go way far afield and use something crazy like Fernet, which is just going to be very bitter and mentholated. You can change up your mixer, or you can add a mixer. You can use ginger beer or grapefruit soda. You can add bitters like Angostura, orange bitters, Peychaud's bitters. Or you can add syrup like agave, or some sort of infused syrup like a mint syrup or a basil syrup or some sort of fruit syrup. Before you start, make sure you keep it simple. So, what cocktail am I gonna make? Well, I think I want to do a split base because I really enjoy mezcal, but I still want to keep this drink feeling really refreshing, and mezcal can be really earthy and smoky on its own. So I'm going to be mixing mezcal and Blanco tequila. I'm going to be subbing out the Cointreau for dry curacao. I'm going to be using Fernet Branca as the bitters, so there's going to be very little in there. And then I'm going to be using lime juice as the acid to sort of cut through everything. So this is actually going to be a 5-ingredient cocktail. There's going to be liquor, lengthener, sweet, sour, spice. It's going to hit all of those different notes. Let's see how it turns out. For glassware, I think I'm going to serve it up at first, and then if it needs the ice, if it needs more lengthener, then I'll just pour it over rocks. So there's our glassware. 1 ounce of your Blanco tequila. 1 ounce of your mezcal. We're going to do 1/2 ounce of our dry curacao. And then a dash of Fernet Branca, which basically means anything under 1/4 ounce if you're using a jigger. You can also just dash it in there, but you're going to have a little bit less control and it's going to be harder to kind of dial in. So just a little bit in there at the bottom of the jigger. Pour that right there. Now for the lime juice, which I think is going to be the thing that makes or breaks this cocktail, I'm going to do this fresh, and I think I'm going to aim for 3/4 ounce. Because that seemed to be perfect when I made the Cosmopolitan in part 2. I have a sneaking suspicion that I'm going to want to use a lemon zest as the garnish on this, because I don't feel like there's anything very aromatic about this right now. Alright, put it all together. Crack it open. Pour it up, it's in a cup. Drinking rainbow. All right, there's our signature margarita. Let's see how it tastes. Cheers. I'm actually glad I made it up. I'm always surprised when I make a signature cocktail and I go in relatively blind. This, not only does this work, this is probably my favorite drink that I've made so far during this entire recording session. It's incredibly refreshing. The key seems to be having just the right amount of Fernet Branca. If I could change one thing, I think I might garnish it with an orange zest, or I would add a little bit more dry curacao because I'm not getting a lot of that sweetness coming through. It is almost too sour, but it's also too good for me to want to mess with it right now. If you have a peeler at home, obviously use a peeler. I don't recommend using a broken knife to make your peels. Do not do as I do. But I did peel a lot of potatoes when I was a kid. Thanks for that, Dad. Before you cut off the edges, that's when you're gonna wanna express this over here just a little bit. If you're doing this at work, maybe use tongs if you have to use tongs. And if you want to make absolutely sure that those oils are going to end up on your guest's palate or on your palate if you're drinking this, express it and then caress it around the side of the glass. Cut away the rest of those rough edges, or as much as you can. There you go. So the next thing that you can do is you can try some advanced techniques. The easiest thing to do is going to be to first switch up your garnish. Here, we decided to go with an orange peel. We can do better. I found a peeler. Get a nice thick peel and peel your orange top down instead of around the side. If you want to get like a really long, like really pretty sort of twist, then you can kind of peel it all the way around the side. If you're just trying to get a little bit of zest, peel top down. Next, get something that you can make fire with, which you should always keep behind the bar. And then you're going to first heat up the oils on the edge of the orange. Try not to burn your hands. And you'll get some sparks coming off of that. On top of looking cool, what that does is it makes those oils a little bit more effervescent, a little bit more volatile, which means they'll hit your guest's palate and they'll hit your palate a little bit more strongly. Same thing, once you've expressed it, caress it around the side, twist it. You can make it look pretty if you want, but this is just for me. So you're gonna twist it, put it in there. Let's taste it, see how it went. Oh yeah, like way more of that orange flavor. So that's just the garnish, and that's the easiest thing to do. There are other more elevated techniques. The next difficult thing to do would be to do your own sort of home infusion. So I mentioned like a jalapeno tequila before. You can make that at home by just adding jalapenos to your tequila for about 24 hours and then strain them off, rebottle it, and label it so that you don't accidentally put this in someone else's drink. You can do fat washing, where you maybe use something like coconut oil to add some coconut texture and flavor to your tequila. And then the next difficult step would be doing something like layering, which is actually not unheard of in a margarita. The most common version of this with a margarita is to float a little bit of Grand Marnier on top and light that on fire. And that's what is typically referred to as a top shelf margarita. I don't have Grand Marnier behind the bar, and I've already lit one thing on fire today that wasn't me, so I'm not gonna test my luck. The next level of difficulty is gonna be clarification and filtering. Anything that has kind of citrus in it is gonna be ideal for milk washing, which will clarify this. It'll add some velvety texture to it as well. You can also clarify just your lime juice, which kind of turns this into a stirred cocktail instead of a shaken cocktail. But to do that, you're gonna need agar-agar or some sort of gelatin or something to pull those solids out of your lime juice. The last thing, and this isn't particularly difficult, this may be the easiest thing for you to do, which is weird because it makes the biggest difference. Make some homemade ingredients, make something from scratch, and I'm gonna recommend that you make lime cordial. And basically what you do to make lime cordial is you peel your limes, then you juice them, and then you add an equal measure of volume of sugar to your lime juice. There's a whole video that I have out on how to make lime cordial from scratch, and I think I made about a half a gallon when I did it. You don't need to make that much, but I gave a lot of them away as gifts. And if you have lime cordial, it makes it easy to make margaritas, daiquiris, mojitos, gimlets with either gin or vodka. It goes a long way. So in conclusion, step 1, make and master one simple classic cocktail. Step 2, learn some other classic cocktails that are in that same style and maybe 1 or 2 ingredients away. Step 3, once you've done that and mastered those other cocktails, make your own signature cocktail. And then for extra credit, take some of these advanced techniques and really make your drinks stand out from everyone else's. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks for all of your help and support. Hopefully I've been helpful and supportive as well. I had a blast teaching you guys how to make and master the margarita and work it into a bunch of other kinds of drinks. If you learned anything during any of these videos, please like and subscribe and comment with the drinks you want to learn how to make at home. And I'll see you guys in the next video.